One of my favorite values in terms of the passing game and some options that he might have. Obviously, Amari Cooper. Once he got there, everything really started to take off for Dak, for Cooper himself. But he's been so boom or bust when he was with the Raiders. Is there a chance he finds some consistency here after being the seventh highest scoring fantasy wide receiver from week 9 on once he joined him? He was on pace for 1,300 yards, 11 scores. Is that something you think he can maintain for a full season? What are you expecting with him and Kellen Moore's offense with Cooper?
Well, I think what Amari did over the second half of last season was very special, and I think that's hard to replicate. I mean, it was a really special run. Obviously, turned the Cowboys season around, and there were some big some big days he had. He had a big Thanksgiving Day game against the Washington Redskins. He had the huge game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He even caught the game winner off the tip pass in overtime. And so from a statistical perspective, from a fantasy perspective, I don't know that, Amari can or will, I should say, reach the pace that you noted he would have had he played 16 games for the Cowboys last season. But I do think he's certainly a serviceable wide receiver. I mean, he's obviously the focal point of the offense, and the fact that Doug Nussmeier, who's an Alabama offensive coordinator, is on the staff is a very helpful thing. And I think, there's a common sense factor of this is the guy that saved us. This is the piece of our offense that really moves things. And so I think Amari Cooper is going to be a huge factor. Obviously, Des Bryant was a really prolific fantasy receiver for a long time for the Cowboys. I think a lot of that is he was pretty touchdown dependent. Des is the franchise's all-time leader in receiving touchdowns. But Amari does seem like a guy that, I think you can count on for solid, depending on how your scoring is, 13-ish points a game, whether that's 70, 80 yards and a touchdown. Maybe he picks up 110 yards and no score. He's kind of living in that range, and he's a pretty reliable guy. I think that's what we're going to see from Kellen Moore.
Absolutely would love to see that, because that's been the one downside with Cooper. He has those huge games and then you get nothing and he kills you. So if Kellen Moore and Cooper can just keep that consistency going, it'd go a long way for a guy that's going around 3 or so right now, could really anchor a fantasy passing attack.